how's it going, guys? My name is Brandon. Welcome to Audio Addiction, where you can find latest album reviews, you can find our band interviews, and you can find live coverage of the concerts that we get. I posted an interview with 54 Reasons, a pop-punk band from Texas, on Monday. I posted an interview with When the Clock Strikes. They're a band from Oklahoma. They are kind of like emo, alternative, really good stuff too. And then on Friday I'll be posting my third interview with Andreas, so definitely be on the lookout for that. I'll also be going out to see After the Burial in the Acacia Strain tonight, along with Era and Make Them Suffer, so I'm super stoked on that. If you are going out to the Philly show, come say what's good, because I'll be at that. And a ton more album reviews next week to be coming up. I will be making an update video. I have a few things in my life that's going to be changing, so things on the channel will be changing as well. But tonight we're going to be going into Sylar's new record, Seasons. Well, I'm pretty familiar with this band. I will say that I am not particularly the biggest fan of their music, but I have been following it since pretty much the beginning. They released a record called Cutting Ties back in 2011. Then they followed that up with Deadbeat on 2013. Then they signed with Hopeless not much longer after, and they released To Whom It May Concern in 2014. And then in 2016, their most recent release up to this point is Help, and they released that in 2016. But I was kind of excited to check it out. I was a little bit on the fence with the singles that had been released at the current time of this being recorded. So I wasn't really sure about it, but I'm going to go through each track, give you my thoughts and opinions on the whole record, go through some pros and cons, and then finish it out with an overall rating. So the first track is called Seasons, the title track to the record. I'm digging the more heavier guitar parts intertwined with the electronic and sort of new metal vibes that you get from this band. They are not really shy about telling people that they are very new metal influenced. I think Jaden has some really cool rhythm to his rhyming and just his rapping in general. I think it's really sick. There are some songs that I feel like play out his vocals a little bit better, but overall I really enjoyed it. I think the bridge would have definitely hit a lot harder if he used a little bit more of those harder screams. I know that in previous work, being To Whom It May Concern and Help, I know that he's done screaming before, even in Deadbeat and prior to that, Cutting Ties. So I know that he is a good screamer. I like his screaming, and I just feel like it's just unfacilitated in the record, and it would have just been way better off if there was just a little bit more aggression behind it. I also feel like Miguel, their rhythm guitar player and their clean vocalist, does some awesome cleans on this song. I think overall, I think it's a really solid track. It's definitely one of my favorites because I think it starts off the record on the right track. But I would have definitely loved a little bit more of screamings here and there. So we're gonna move into track number 2, which is All or Nothing. This is the first single that was released, and it has a really cool bounce to it. I think that you definitely get some strong Linkin Park vibes. I feel like Meteora and Hybrid Theory are definitely, I would say, albums of influence for them, and you can hear that in sort of the guitar writing and just instrumentals in general. Feels very much along the lines of if Linkin Park was more of if they had more of a modern interpretation of that. So definitely appreciate that. The riffs and the instrumentals go really hard in this track, but I think overall it's really missing that element that I felt like Seasons had that this one didn't. The chorus could have been more creative. I think that it's definitely lacking. It's probably the least favorite part of mine in the song. I think the verses do a much better job of keeping that sort of high energy. I would say the chorus is pretty good, but it's just like the same lyric repeated over and over again. I think that there's just a little bit more thought process and tracks to follow this one. And I just feel like in the context of the record, it's just not good enough. I feel like it's just kind of borderline to what I enjoyed from this record, but it just didn't really have that thing that really drive me to be like, oh, I like this song a lot. So we're gonna move into track number 3, which is No Way. This one is another single. This happens to be one of my favorites as well, and I like that this one's more of a melodic, sort of slower track. I think you get to hear a lot more of Miguel's range, and I think he's an awesome clean singer. I wasn't really too honed in on it on previous records, but I feel like in this one they really kind of highlighted him a little bit more, and his voice. But I think that he's definitely the highlight of this track, most certainly. I think that it's a nice change of pace from the two heavier tracks that have been played out so far off the record, and I think it is just extremely well constructed. I think it's a solid track from start to finish, and I think that both vocalists have their time in the song that really kind of makes them shine and stand out in this one. So we're going to move into track number 4, which is Wait For You. This has some really nice introductive piano parts in the song. It's a nice addition. I would have liked to hear it a little bit more here and there throughout the song, but I like how it brings kind of that intro part into the verse and then kind of into the first chorus. That's really nice. I like that Jaden kind of does this mix between rapping and screaming. I think it really works in this song, and I think it brings out a lot of the emotional qualities that I like in that sort of vibe that they bring out. Which is definitely nice. In the bridge, there's this little breakdown, which is really cool, and I think it was really unexpected, and I think it's going to be unexpected for a lot of listeners of the band, but I think overall it's a really refreshing track. I think that it's one of those tracks that has continually grown on me as I've gone through and listened to this record. I haven't listened to this record as much as previous records that I've done, but I think that this one is definitely one of those ones that will inevitably be one of my favorites later on, possibly towards the end of the year. So we're gonna move on to track number 5, which is Shook. This is another single that has been released, and I talked a little bit about it on our podcast, which you should go check out if you're interested. But this one has some really cool guitar parts. I'm really digging this sort of intro riff. It has just a unique quality to them that I feel like for me I wasn't totally expecting either, and I think it really is kind of that black sheep of the record so far. It has this really cool kind of like pitched guitar shift part in the intro part of the track, and kind of mixed throughout the whole song in general. I think that the bass is definitely more of a prevalent role in this track, which is definitely nice because you don't really get that change of pace in songs like this. It almost feels like they took a page out of Bring Me the Horizon's book. It has a very similar styling to Happy Song off their most recent record, That's the Spirit, and I feel like you can draw comparisons in terms of sonic styling between the two. It definitely has that sort of vibe to it, and it also has a little bit of a Rage Against the Machine sort of vibe to it as well. I could definitely pick that out as somebody who is kind of a little bit on the older end of the scale. You could definitely pick up that sort of new Bring Me the Horizon sort of vibe to it, but also that sort of nostalgic Rage Against the Machine sort of feeling to it as well. So we're going to move into track number 6, which is Winter. This is an interlude track. I like that Jaden does this little rap verse, and he kind of almost does some singing. I know that Miguel kind of lends his voice into this track as well. Not too much going on. I think it's just pretty much a filler track that gets you excited for the next track, which is track number 7, Open Wounds. This is the most recent single, I believe, that they released at the current time, and is one of my favorites because it is so cohesive. I think it is the most cohesive off the entire record and has the best aspects of Sylar. I think that what they're doing in this track, if they continued on down this path, I'd be totally cool with it. I think it's extremely well written, well arranged, and it has one of my favorite choruses off the entire record. It just really captivates you. I think Miguel does an awesome job singing in this track. I think this is his best performance off the record as well, and it has little bits of heaviness, but also I think it shows what the direction that they're going in, which is going to be more of that sort of rap rock sort of arena sort of vibe to it, and I dig that. I felt like, it's a nice progression from Help, and I think they're trying to go more into that, I wouldn't even say mainstream, but definitely more on that sort of like serious radio, like Octane. I know that's a big one that does a lot of stuff. I feel like they could definitely have a song that's on there, and this one I think would fit the best for sure. So we're gonna move into track number 8, which is Giving Up. This one is another favorite of mine. I think it is a great follow-up to Open Wounds. I think it is also extremely well written and well performed. It just has that right amount of punch to it, but also it has some really great melodic parts as well. I think it does a great job of blending sort of that rap metalcore and sort of rock vibes and mentality and sort of sound in one track. I think it has another really solid chorus as well, and I think that Jaden and Miguel work really well and in harmony with each other in this song, and they don't feel like they're stepping over one another. It just really kind of works as a cohesive tandem. So we're going to move into track number 9, which is Sick Minded. This one, I think the inclusion of strings is definitely nice, much like in Wait For You. I think that it draws the same sort of comparison of adding that sort of, sort of ethereal elements to tracks, which I really dig. Jaden tries something different in this song. I would say that his rapping part is kind of borderline singing in a way, which definitely helps that flow of lyrics, as well as I feel like it gives a more melodic quality to the track, and just the vocals and like rap parts in general. I like the trade-offs between Jaden and Miguel. I think it really works out well on this track, and I just like how they counterbalance each other in a really nice way. I think that you don't really get that too much in a lot of the other tracks. I like that Jaden kind of does some little like yelly sort of parts, or like just kind of be that sort of hype man sort of feel to tracks, which is definitely cool. And I think it obviously plays well to their strategy of being sort of that rap rock kind of metalcore fusion. So we're gonna move it into track number 10, which is Same Dance. This one is one of my favorites just because it is got that punch. It's got that edge to it that I was expecting, that I was hoping for off this record. And unfortunately, it comes to the second track off the entire record. I feel like the aggression is definitely more fleshed out in this track. It feels like something off of Help, which I felt like did the best of combining that sort of heaviness, but also combining that sort of rap element that you can expect from this band. I think it emulates sort of the harder edge of rap too. I think that obviously being from Brooklyn, they have some great rap artists out of there, and I think that Jaden does an awesome job emulating that, and I would have loved to hear more of that throughout the entire record. And I also feel like the new metal vibes are just flowing in this track. It feels very heavy, but it also really borrows a lot from like harder rap. So I feel like for those of you who are expecting something like that, this is the go-to track for sure. And there's this sick breakdown at the 2 minutes and 13-second mark, around to the 2 minutes and 30-second mark. It isn't too substantial, but I like that they really kind of just didn't erase the breakdown thing. I know that they are trying to go in that sort of rap rock direction, so I appreciate that there's still little hints of the older Sylar mixed in there as well. So we're gonna move into the last track number 11, which is Doubt Me. There's definitely more of a melodic presence on this track than on any of the previous tracks off the record. I thought the instrumentation really doesn't match with the whole vibe of the song. I felt like they could have really toned it down and would have been nice, or they could have just edged it up and been really sick. I feel like they kind of hit that gray area where it's not heavy enough, but it's not melodic enough. And I felt like that really hurt the vibe of the song. I also feel like arrangement in terms of placement of the track off the record, I feel like this would have done much better towards the middle of the record, rather than at the end. It really kind of sucks up all the energy that Same Dance had. And I would have loved to hear that sort of like punch and then get into Seasons and then be hyped again, that they kind of flow together. I don't think it is a bad track. I just feel like it's misplaced, and it just has that lack of pizzazz that Same Dance had, that I think is a little bit missing in this track, but I think it just doesn't really ride the high of the last track, which obviously I keep referencing Same Dance. So some pros and cons. I think there are some tracks that are really creative. I think tracks like Same Dance, Giving Up, Open Wounds, and I would say probably No Way are probably the ones that stuck out to me the most, in terms of creativity and the direction that they will be going into. There's a nice amount of cleans and screams. I think Miguel and Jaden do an awesome jobs doing that. I think that Jaden is obviously focusing more on his rap styling, so that's always cool too, but I would love to hear some more screams. And I think there is some progression in this record. They're really trying to push that sort of thing that Linkin Park was doing, and I think they do a good job of it. I think that in the next record, I feel like they're gonna have more of a played out idea of what they want to do. This one's kind of like that like teenage puberty years, where it's like not quite at that point, but I can see the progression and where it's going to be at the end of the line. Some cons that I have: screaming. I feel like there is a massive lack of screaming, considering Help had a pretty decent amount of it and still included rapping. I can imagine how hard that would be live to arrange, but I would love to hear some more screaming. Or if they're gonna do rap parts, make them interesting, make them either have like a fast sort of rap line, just make it unique to the point where it doesn't feel like every time I'm listening to it I'm like, oh well, Jaden's kind of doing the same thing. I would love to hear some variations on that, and I think that tracks like Wait For You really did a phenomenal job of kind of switching it up and making it unique to what they do. Same Dance, again, his rap lines were just super hard, and they fit with the whole vibe of the track, and I feel like those tracks really kind of represent the gambit of what he can do. And again, like I said, it's kind of in that puberty stage, so I'm hoping that next record is going to be spicy. I would also say that there is a bit of a lack of heavier tracks. If you are expecting that, I feel like you're going to be disappointed. I'm not saying there aren't heavy tracks on this record. I just feel like there's just a lack of them. So my overall rating for Sylar's Seasons, I'm going to be giving it an 8.8 out of 10. I don't think it is their best work, but I don't think it's their worst work either. It is a progression, and I like seeing progression as somebody who does a lot of reviews. So I'm stoked to see what you guys hear and think about this new record. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, what your favorite tracks are, what you think about the singles so far. Definitely would like to know, because I feel like this band is kind of on the cusp of doing something really awesome. They're currently on tour with Knock Loose and Beartooth, so that's definitely cool. So go check them out if you get the chance to, and if you enjoyed this review, make sure to subscribe, hit that thumbs up, subscribe. It goes a long way. It really helps us grow and help us get out to you guys. So thank you so much for checking this out. Plenty of more album reviews and interviews to be coming up, so definitely keep your eyes peeled. So my name is Brandon. We hope you got your fix, and we'll be talking with you soon. Peace. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Of course, if you enjoy what we do, make sure to go check out the other series we do. We do album reviews, we do band interviews, and we do live videos, so definitely go check that out. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps our channel, helps us grow. Make sure to hit that like button as well. Go follow us on social media. That's all down below. We try to keep that as updated as possible. We also made a new website where we'll be posting photos of upcoming concerts and stuff like that, which you can go check out at audioaddictionmedia.com, and come get your fix with us, guys. Talk to you later. Deuces.